Hey everyone, welcome to the Sustain the Range podcast. I'm Lauren, your host, and this podcast is a personal exploration of my experiences in everything ranching. From beef operations to training horses to sustainable farming and regenerative practices, we'll cover it all. Each episode features enlightening conversations with guests who bring their unique perspectives and expertise. Whether they're seasoned ranchers or first-generation farmers, we all share a common bond and deep appreciation for the land and the livestock we raise. Tune in each week for engaging discussions, inspiring stories, and practical insights from the ranching community, and let's embark on this incredible journey together. Hey everyone, it's me again. I am recording this after a few months off. I stopped the podcast for a little bit due to a lot of different reasons that I'll be sharing soon, but I just wanted to come back on and give you some life updates as I start this new season of the podcast. I'm really excited to be back here after some time away and to really start bringing you some great episodes. I have a lot of interviews lined up, and for everybody from ranchers to horse trainers to people in the ag industry, fighting for all of the challenges that are happening in agriculture right now, and small producers, big ranchers, things like that. So I'm really, really excited to share those with you all. But I wanted to just do a little bit of a life update first. I was really and am still a little bit nervous recording this because there's been a lot that's happened in the last 6 or so months. And I was really putting off recording this because it's a lot of personal stuff, and I tend to be somewhat of a private person, with the exception of with my very close friends and family. But one of the goals through this podcast is to just share a lot and be more personal with you guys, and hopefully, bring on some really good guests that gives them a space to be vulnerable too. So here I am, and I guess we'll just get into it. Since I last released an episode, it's, like I said, been a few months, and I've had a lot happen. I was at the ranch in Montana, and I basically was going through some health stuff. I had a lot of hormonal issues that had been going on that really got worse over the summertime, and I felt terrible, and it definitely affected a lot of not only my physical health but my mental health. But good news is that I have been able to kind of figure that stuff out. I've been working with like a naturopath, and I worked with another holistic doctor that's kind of helped me to nail down some of those hormonal stuff, and really have been very, very disciplined, especially over the last 4 months or so, 3 or 4 months. Been really good about feeding my body the right foods, exercising, and just really working on my mindset and that discipline that comes along with it. So I guess I'll just get into it. I'm still a little bit nervous, even though I'm sitting here talking to myself. But so since I last recorded, I was at the ranch in Montana. Things were going really good, and what ended up happening is I had some changes there. I went through a breakup, which my boyfriend at the time was on that ranch. So I ended up just taking some time away from the ranch, because basically he, was the employee hired there, and was kind of the one that was in mostly in charge with the herd management, and I was like the assistant helping out, and I helped out a lot with the social media and the marketing for the ranch as well. But when we decided to part ways, I just took some time, about a month or so, came home to visit some family and was just trying to figure out kind of what my next moves were, if I was going to stay at that ranch or if it was just something that I felt like I couldn't pursue further. So what ended up happening is I actually, during that time that I was away, I went to the Ranching for Profit school, which again, I think I'm going to do another episode on that, just to kind of talk a lot about what I learned there, what I liked, what I didn't like. Mostly liked. I thought it was a great school, and would recommend it to anybody that really wants to be profitable in ranching. So anyway, I ended up going there and spent an awesome week there, met some really, really great people, and then came back home again. Or actually, sorry, no, I'm kind of missing a huge step. So I ended up going back to Montana after about a month. I had spent home with my family after kind of the breakup, just to figure out what to do. I went back to Montana to go get my horse because my horse was there still. And this is where I apologize in advance if I get a little upset, because it was probably one of the hardest times in my life next to losing my mom. I went back to Montana with a living quarters horse trailer, a new truck, because the thought was, and the plan was, that I was going to just kind of take some time away to really figure out, like I said, what to do, where to go next, or if I wanted to stay in Montana. So I went back there. I did everything possible that I could think of to get my horse ready for this trip, since it was going to be a long one and she had not been trailered that far ever. We had taken her on tons of trailer rides, backcountry, overnights. She's been trailered many, many times. So I wasn't worried about her in the trailer at all. My mostly was just nervous because it was going to be a really long trip. It was going to be about at least a 2 or 3 day trip. I was going to try to do it in 2 days. So I did all of the preparation that I possibly could, even to the extent that it was like a little too much at times. And that morning I got up, real early, and I had, the ex-boyfriend there kind of helped me load her in the morning. Again, I took every precaution that I possibly could, and we hit the road around 6 a.m. in the morning. And as I was driving down the road, I stopped. I think the first time I stopped was about a half an hour in, just to check on her, to make sure that everything was okay. And then about an hour later, I pulled over to get gas, and we basically had gotten into a trailer accident. And I won't go into too much detail right now, maybe someday, but it was pretty traumatic. When I got back into the trailer, she was in a position that I still to this day cannot fathom how she possibly got herself up and over the divider and wedged in the way that she did. I've gone over it a million times in my head based on the length of the halter, how she could have maybe gotten a foot over. There was hay bale stacked next to her. I mean, it would be hard for me to get into the position that she did. So basically, it was just an absolute freak accident. I got back there with her, and I was trying to get her head in a better position because she was having a hard time breathing. And she ended up passing away. There were a couple people there at the gas station who heard me yelling and screaming to help, and There was this very, very nice woman there who I still do not know her name, but she was like an absolute sweetheart. She came into the trailer and she was trying to help me get the divider open. We couldn't get the divider or the door open. And it was, she just kind of kept, saying, Jesus is here. He's praying for us. And I kind of blacked out, really. It was a pretty awful thing, to say the very least. And then right after, I realized that she had gone, she kind of looked at me and kind of took her last breath. And I knew she was gone. I was just there, kind of sitting there in the back of the trailer by myself, not even feeling like it was reality. And I finally was able to get the door open and then had to move the trailer to another part of because I was blocking part of the entryway, and then I ended up moving the trailer, and I had two very, very good friends on the phone with me at the time, and then I called, the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, tell him what happened, and he came to meet me. Then, the owner of the ranch, a couple of guys that I knew from the ranch, he called them, and they were on their way to Bozeman at the time. So they were passing by where the gas station that I had pulled in, and they got there about an hour later. And apparently I had pulled the trailer like in the middle of the kind of like the where the big trucks, where the semis go into the gas station, like right in kind of in that lane there. And I was blocking it, and which I didn't even realize, because I was just so out of it. So, the boyfriend ended up coming and getting me. Somebody had dropped him off, and then we got in the car and drove back to Missoula. It was an absolute whirlwind. Even that next week was just a very out-of-body experience. One thing, I, had buried her. My friend had got her out of the trailer, and we buried her there at the ranch, right next to this really beautiful like oak tree, and the same spot that my calf that I had where she is buried. I think anybody that has lost a horse, and that one horse that really meant the world to you, I think it's really hard to explain to people who don't understand it, because, I don't have children, but my animals are my children. And I think especially when you have that one horse that means the world to you, and when you lose them, it's almost like you lose a part of yourself. And she was the first horse that I owned. We had so many firsts together. She taught me more than I know. I know I took her for granted at times. And again, we kind of always do this. We look back on, what I could have done, what should I have done better, the things that we did or how we acted that we might not be proud of, throughout their life. And, even with the trailer accident, for weeks, and even still, I beat myself up thinking, oh my gosh, what if I stopped 10 minutes earlier? What if I did this? What if I did that? But I mean, when I really, really am honest with myself, there is nothing more that I could have done to prevent it. It was just an absolute freak thing. And again, still to this day, it's like unexplainable. Even if you were to like scientifically try to, measure it all out and everything else, like I still don't know how it happened. But I think we tend to look back on things like this and we say, oh, I wish I was better, or I regret that I didn't do this. And I'm really trying to not do that, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. And I think the biggest loss for me is not only was I going through a loss of, and going through a breakup, but this was on top of it. When the breakup happened, I was pretty devastated, but my horse and my dog were getting me through it. And it was like I could actually see the hope because at least I had them. And then when this all happened, it was just like my world came crashing down. And it is almost like I still can't believe that it happened, but I know that because my faith has grown so much in the last few months, I know that I'm not going to understand it, but it had to be for a reason, and I just have to trust that God knows that reason, and I know He does. But it was really, really hard. I think the biggest thing is that we had so many years left. We were supposed to have so many years left. She was 3 and we were going to do so much. I had so many plans, whatever ranch I was going to end up next on, she was coming with. We were going to have a million more backcountry trips together. We were going to start a little bit of liberty training, and she was going to continue to help me get better at my horsemanship. So I think that is one of the hardest things to still kind of wrap my mind around together, is because we had so many plans together, and well, I did, but she did too. So, for anybody that has lost that horse, I know what it's like. I know how you're feeling, and I know, that pain that can still be present in you, that you're not ever sure it's going to go away. But I try to tell myself that she taught me more than I could ever realize, and I'm starting to realize some of that now. She was so unique, and not only did we have so many adventures left together, but she was so young, so she had so much more growing to do and things like that. So again, if you have lost that horse, that meant the world to you, I am so sorry. And I'm sorry that I understand what it's like, because it's still really hard to explain. But I guess the only thing that I can say is to look back on everything that they taught you. The thing that sort of makes me feel better and sometimes not is, like I said, I don't understand why God allowed this or why this happened, but it is something that I might never understand until I get to ask Him. So I think what helps me a little bit is that I know that she's going, because of all of the times that I had with her, I know that she has made me a better horseman, and I know that because of everything that I learned from her, I will continue to bring that to the next horse that I have and to any other horses that I work with, because I have been riding a little bit since she passed, and something's definitely changed in me. The first horse that I got on was this really cool cutting horse, and it was about like a month and a half later, and I had never ridden a really cool cutting horse before, but he was pretty neat, and I still kind of felt like maybe it was a little too soon, or not even that it was too soon, but I just didn't really feel that connection. And then I ended up taking a lesson at one of the farms that is about an hour or two away from my house. And when I got on that horse, it was like something had changed in me. I don't know if it was appreciation. I don't know if it was connection. I don't know if it was like the Holy Spirit coming through me. But when I was on the back of that horse, it was like this whole other level of understanding and appreciation and gratitude, and just this sense of knowing that you can feel this peace and connection when you're on a horse. And I had felt that with Kawani so many times, but I think I really took it for granted a lot. And it's like I've matured in ways, and I not that I look at horses differently right now, like different than I did before, because I've always had that love and appreciation, but I think there's a level of understanding and patience and awareness and tuning into myself and my body and that horse that I have not really allowed myself to tune in to before. And it was a extremely like spiritual experience that, it's hard to explain, because it was just like felt. And I really credit that to Kawani and all that we went through together. And, I kind of say this because when I'm talking, I don't want to say that, because she had to die for this to happen. No. But what I can do is just look back and appreciate everything that she was, and know that I will see her again, that she's always going to be with me. And even though I'm still not to the point where I can look back and, relive all the times we had together, all the trail rides and backcountry trips and training sessions that we had that still don't make me sad. But I know that, like, because of her, I will be a better person, and I will be a better horsewoman. So thank you guys, and sorry for the getting a little upset there. I hope you could hear me okay. It's obviously still very new. That happened about 3 months ago, so still new for me. And I just wanted to really share that part with you guys, because it was a huge thing, a huge life event that, really has changed the course of my life. And it will be interesting to see, now that I've been able to go through these last few months that were just devastating, is a word, but hard, where I felt angry, hopeless, depressed, sad, all of these emotions, not only having to figure out if I was going to stay in Montana, if I was going to try to, get another ranch job or find another ranch to be at, to thinking about the future and trying to grieve my horse. But I have to say that I feel like a brand new person in some ways too. These last few months have been really, really tough, but the one thing that has helped and the one thing that has gotten me through it is not only my family and friends, but my faith. I have strengthened my faith more so than I have in my entire life, and it's been incredible. It's still a little tough to explain, but I have just been diving into scripture. I've been reading, I've been learning, and I've always heard people say this, that, you have to experience the love of Jesus and really be able to articulate that. And I'm not always the best at that, but at articulating what I'm trying to say right now, especially, if I'm a little nervous or talking about something that's so vulnerable. But I really have experienced the love that God and Jesus has for me. And I feel like I'm a different person in the way that He's changed my heart. And He is changing my heart. And I'm starting to see things differently. I'm starting to have a different perspective. I've always really struggled with anxiety, and I have struggled with depression in the past. And it's not that He's wiped all of that clean, but He provides a way for us to be able to deal with things. And I've tried for years and years and years. And when I finally, over the last, 2 months, really surrendered, and I'm still working on it, because there are definitely times that I don't want to surrender His will for my life. I still want to have control. I still want these certain things, but I have asked and prayed Him, to please change my heart, to please help me just trust Him. And the level of comfort and kind of solid foundation or grounding that I feel when I pray and when I read scripture and when I read the Bible is like nothing I've experienced before. So I guess, this is somewhat of a testimony that if you just release control and trust Him, He will help you. And it's so hard to do, and I still struggle with it, and I probably will for the rest of my life at times. But I tend to get really worried about the state of our country, the state of our world. I get worried about all of the challenges that are happening in agriculture right now, the many things, and then, with the government control and land ownership and, the challenges that are facing a lot of people in agriculture and people that want to get into agriculture, the wars happening in the world, a lot of stuff that's going on. And I tend to get really worked up about it sometimes, where I just worry and worry and worry, but I have to trust God. And and I read something last night, that really helped, because I started kind of going down the road of all this, EID and the electronic tags for cattle and all this kind of stuff for tracking, the tracking tags for cattle, and seeing both sides of it. But I'll probably do an episode on that as well, just because I don't have all of the information right now that I think I need to be able to kind of speak on it. And I really want to talk to kind of more ranchers and farmers about it. People have been doing this for a while, to see kind of their take on it. But from the looks of it, it looks like it might not be a good thing. There's a lot of positives to it, to track disease and things like that. But then there's a lot of downfalls to it as well, where, the control that the government would have might not be a good thing. So I was really worried about all that last night, for the future of ag and the future of cattle producers and all this. And then I read something that kind of just helped me ease that anxiety a little bit was, and it was something along the lines of like, what you might think is falling apart maybe is God's way of rearranging things. So not necessarily, meaning this whole tracking system, or the electronic ID, but just that sometimes we just don't know. We don't understand what he's doing because he can see everything, but we can't. And we do not understand why things happen the way that they do, or, getting into the bigger thing, why we suffer, or why good people suffer, or bad people don't, or, whatever it is. But the only thing we can do is just have that faith and trust and lean not on our own understanding. And that has really, really helped me through all of this. And one of the biggest things that I've learned is that, and I've read things here and there and I've seen, people post or make quotes about this kind of thing, but sometimes God has to bring us to a really low point for him to change us and for him to work on us and recreate us, because at that really low point is when you do need him and you say like, I can't do this anymore. I can't, I don't understand how I'll be able to go on. I can't do this on my own anymore. I've got nothing left, because you've been trying and trying and trying to change and control and do things your way. And whether you have a faith or not, a super strong faith, or you're kind of, have a faith, but you still want to have that control, which is exactly where I was. But we have to just give it all to him and realize that he is in control and he knows things and he knows what's best for us more than we do and more than we can see. And we have to rely on the things that we can't see, which is him. And that has been such a huge piece of just surrendering his will. And again, I still struggle with it every day because I want to surrender and I know that he knows what's best for me, and I want to, do right by him and let his will be, with whatever I do with my life. But it's really hard to do at times because we want things that we want, and there are things placed on our hearts that are for a reason. And I also believe that he knows the desires in your heart, and he knows the things that you love and the things that you want to do. He might not give you everything you want, but I do think that when you talk to him and you pray, he knows your heart and he knows those deep desires in your heart. And I truly believe that he wants to fulfill them, because he wouldn't put those desires in your heart. And one of the things for me is, I've shared on here how much I've come to love agriculture in the way that I really believe that this is like my purpose. Everything in my life, everything that I've done up until this point, I think has all prepared me for this time. And I have to trust that God has a bigger plan for me. And I think that if the breakup didn't happen, or if things hadn't played out the way that they did, I may or may not have been settling. I'm not sure yet. In some ways, I think that I could have, because I was ready to settle there. I was ready to get married. I was ready for a lot of things that I was never going to leave where I was. And I met, like I said, some really wonderful people at Ranching for Profit School, and a couple of them I hope to have on this podcast soon. But they really helped me realize that when I went down there that, maybe the plan is much bigger and that sometimes things have to break down to be able to get you to where you're supposed to be. So I've learned a lot over the last few months, and you still try to work through it, and you kind of take each step like really wobbly, and the unknowns can be really scary. But I also try to remind myself that there are so many things that I prayed for in the past that I didn't get. And if I had got them, I would have never been where I am right now. And I may have never found myself at the Mustang program that I was at. I may have never stepped foot on this particular ranch in Montana that taught me so much about soil health and cows and running a cattle business and, regenerative practices and, adaptive grazing, all this kind of stuff. I may have never been able to get the chance to do that. And I thank God that some of the things that I prayed for did not happen, because I wouldn't have ever had that opportunity because I didn't know it at the time. But it almost makes me cringe right now thinking that if I did get those prayers, that I would have never been brought into this world, and that I truly feel is my purpose. So yeah, I guess, for anybody that maybe is going through something similar or has gone through something similar in the past, whether, it's the same situation or a different situation, just know that he's got a plan for you, and really just decide to trust in him. I had really struggled a lot with my mindset. I would just my thoughts were uncontrollable, and all of our thoughts are uncontrollable at times, right? But we kind of choose the thoughts that we listen to. And it took me a long, long time to really understand what that means. That, like, I have a thought that I can choose to believe or I can choose not to believe. But there were so many points in my life where I chose to believe it because it didn't feel like I could choose anything else. I didn't have control over it. I would let it run my life. And these last few months, I've really worked on my mindset, really worked on that discipline to say, like, no, I'm choosing to believe what God says about me. I'm choosing to not believe that insecure thought that I had that I'm not good enough, or that I don't have enough experience to be in this industry, that nobody's going to listen to me, or, all the things that we say to ourselves that we would never say to anybody else. That being disciplined in my thoughts has really, really helped me. And along with, feeding my body really well and making an absolute effort to exercise. Exercise, as we all know, is not only good for our physical health, but for me, it's a huge mental health thing. I know that when I don't exercise, like, things start to go into the gutter shortly thereafter. So, yeah, I think that I don't really remember where I was going to go from here, but it's basically just really trusting in my faith. And I got a new job. So I am still doing, social media marketing as kind of my my side job there. But I am going to be headed out to a ranch in Colorado in April. So a few weeks from now, I'm going to go back to Montana to spend some time with friends a little bit. And then I'll be heading out to Colorado on a ranch out there in northwest Colorado, which I'm very excited for. It is a holistically managed ranch. I'm going to be helping out with the livestock operation, and they have some Forest Service leases that will be, they graze their cows in the mountains there over the summer. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I'm really looking forward to getting to know another operation. Even before all of this happened, while I was still at the ranch in Montana, I had been kind of looking at other places and just really wanting to kind of get to see another operation, how things are run, how they might do things a little bit differently. So I'm really excited. I'll be there for a while, and at least through the summer and the fall. And I'm very, very excited about it and looking forward to it. So I will absolutely keep you guys posted on all of it. And as I release more and more episodes, just keep you posted on everything that I'm learning and everything that I'm doing. And yeah, so I'll just wrap it up. Thank you. I hope that this all made sense and was clear. Again, it was very nerve-wracking to even be thinking about recording this, but I did it and just kind of started talking. So hopefully it makes sense. And if you guys have any questions or anything, reach out to me. My Instagram handle is Lauren_Pidge, Pidge, and Facebook as well. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you're all having a great day, and we'll talk soon.